Hey there, folks. I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and it's the Metro Boomin album bomb, and a lot else. And this, it's Billboard BREAKDOwn. I don't remember. You know, after the past 2 very short weeks on this show, I was actually looking forward to a meteor episode, especially around an album that I hadn't covered. Little did I know that apparently a bunch of other acts were just waiting to pile on as well, so it's not just Metro Boomin here, it's Morgan Wallen and more holiday stuff, and, well, who knows how much of it's even going to be left with SZA coming next week, but trust me, we'll get to that. In the meantime, our top 10, where, as I predicted, All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey finally got back to number 1. Now again, there is a real challenger with SZA coming up, but Mariah has streaming and holiday radio pretty locked up right now, and with Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee at number 2, Jingle Bell Rock by Bobby Helms at number 3, and A Holly Jolly Christmas by Burl Ives at number 4, the holiday bulwark is now in. But this takes us to our first new entry, cutting through courtesy of the album bomb that's pretty much just on streaming, Creepin by Metro Boomin, The Weeknd, and 21 Savage. Now, we'll get more into the song itself later on, but given that all it really has is streaming at the moment, I don't quite expect it to last, even though it does have radio potential. It did knock back Antihero by Taylor Swift down to number 6. I mean, that took body blows on streaming, but the radio is absolutely there. And if there's going to be a song that'll last in the new year, it is probably this one. I can't really say the same for Unholy by Sam Smith and Kim Petras, though, which slid down to number 7 because it seems like the radio has finally peaked and it's in free fall on streaming. In contrast to our second new top 10 entry, which is pretty much just here on streaming, Superhero, Heroes and Villains by Metro Boomin, Chris Brown, and Future. Yes, we'll also get into this one later too. Now to round things out, Last Christmas by Wham picked up a little bit of streaming traction to rise to number 9, and Rich Flex by Drake and 21 Savage slid down to number 10, because while it still has quite notable streaming, the radio is just taking its sweet time to get on board. It may even be too late. Can you tell I'm really torn up about this one? Now this takes us nicely to our losers and dropouts, and I'll say this for the late year album bombs, they really do clean out the Hot 100 for the upcoming year ahead, because we have some pretty big and notable exits. California Breeze by Lil Baby, About Damn Time by Lizzo, Sunroof by Nicki Yor and Daisy, Jimmy Cooks by Drake and 21 Savage, I Ain't Worried by One Republic, Titi Me Pregunto by Bad Bunny, and Vegas by Doja Cat. Side note, it is total bullshit that the Oscars are disqualifying Vegas from Best Original Song because of the whole hound dog sample and interpolation, because, let's be real here, the Academy is woefully behind the times when it comes to hip-hop or rap music, but we do have a sizable chunk of losers here as well, so let's get through the album bomb remnants first. From Taylor Swift, Maroon fell to 93, Midnight Rain hit 88, and Bejeweled hit 86, and from Drake and 21 Savage, Pussy in Millions with Travis Scott dropped to 82, Major Distribution hit 77, On BS hit 75, Circle Loco hit 73, and Spin 'Bout You hit 70. Then we had a couple of country losses. Don't Come Lookin' by Jackson Dean fell to 96, Half of Us by Thomas Rhett featuring Riley Green hit 91, and Something in the Orange by Zach Bryan faded a little bit to 41. But now, the rest. No Si Va by Grupo Frontero hit 97, Golden Hour by Jake hit 54. I did think this might have a bit more staying power. Just Wanna Rock by Lil Uzi Vert hit 51, Wait For You by Future, Thames and Drake hit 50, Tomorrow 2 by Glorilla and Cardi B hit 47, Made You Look by Meghan Trainor hit 46, Super Freaky Girl by Nicki Minaj hit 40, I Like You, A Happier Song by Post Malone featuring Doja Cat hit 39, Lift Me Up by Rihanna hit 35, and Under the Influence by Chris Brown hit 33. I'm not gonna lie here, if some of these got forced off with SZA coming next week, I'm not going to be complaining. But now, we don't have any returns this week, and really just 2 gains that are Someday at Christmas Time by Lizzo rising off the debut to 81, and Heart Like a Truck by Lainey Wilson hitting 79. But let's be real here, we are very much in album bomb territory for Metro Boomin, and given that he's got 15 new songs on the Hot 100, we're going to be covering the ones that are either the best, the worst, or they're in the top 20. But outside of that, Lock on Me with Travis Scott and Future at 72, All of the Money with Gunna at 66, Feel the Flyaaaah with A$AP Rocky and the late Takeoff at 59. I Can't Save Interlude with Future and Don Toliver at 55. Walk 'Em Down, Don't Kill Civilians with 21 Savage and Mustafa at 52. On Time with John Legend at 48. Trance with Travis Scott and Young Thug at 42. Raindrops Insane with Travis Scott at 31. Niagara Falls Foot or Two with Travis Scott and 21 Savage at 27. Umbrella with 21 Savage and Young Nudie at 23. And Too Many Nights with Don Toliver and Future at 22. Although this one was pretty damn close. Don Toliver is great on this album. More on that in a bit. But alright, that makes things slightly more manageable here. We still got a lot of debuts though, so let's get things started with number 100, Escapism by RAYE featuring 070 Shake.
Take this pain away. You're asking me my symptoms, doctor, I don't wanna feel.
So the big headline is that this is apparently the breakthrough of both of these artists on the Hot 100. Except that's a lie. 070 Shake wasn't credited on Ghost Town by Kanye West, but she was absolutely there as arguably the reason why anyone remembers that song. But the bigger story here is RAYE, British singer-songwriter, and if you've been following the charts, she's been racking up credible hits over there since 2017. So I was intrigued when this crossover went viral. And yeah, I get it. There is a lot going on here that I like. The instrumental, for one, is going for broke somewhere as it creaks and bends across wailing strings that remind me a lot of The Weeknd. Some drum switch-ups that just sound phenomenal. The bass that nearly swamps out the mix but never quite does so. And the feel that it's all gonna fall apart at any moment, which during 070 Shake's verse and during the outro it very nearly does. Again, reminding me a lot of songs from The Weeknd's After Hours. And you know what? The song kind of earns that drama. The sort of post-breakup rager where RAYE is seeking escape through alcohol, drugs, and sex. Whatever numbness that she can claim. With 070 Shake playing someone who is already kind of faded and a cautionary tale that, let's be real, you're not gonna really escape. I guess if I have a hang-up here, it might actually come with RAYE herself. The song might nail a lot of the lurid details, and her throaty delivery actually really works. But her inflections, they feel a little awkward and stilted at points, and I feel like a song like this needs a more explosive climax to really pay it all off. Still, it is impressive. Pretty damn good. Yeah, I'm happy to see this here. Check it out. Number 98, Blue Christmas by Kane Brown.
Christmas without you, I'll be so blue just thinking about you.
Hope y'all weren't sick of the Amazon Holiday Originals, because we got another one here this week, and since nobody cared enough to cross-post it on any other site, I got my once-per-year free trial and got a hold of the song myself. I mean, I respect every artist who pulls this nonsense with Amazon a little less every year. And for Kane Brown, look, he's competing against Elvis's version, and this does not remotely measure up, mostly due to a complete misunderstanding of tone. I'll say this for Elvis, he could at least sell the warbling, doo-wop country angst with a mix that I still kind of find to be over-arranged, but nothing compared to the pluckier guitars and the sleigh bells and a pedal steel dumped all over the vocal runs. I mean, I'm sorry, Kane Brown just does not have the depth of sincerity in order to make this work in his delivery, at least not here, and listening to him try to match a lot of Elvis's range and inflections, it's just sad. In other words, it's not any good. Next. Number 92, Santa Can't You Hear Me by Kelly Clarkson and Ariana Grande. Alright, credit to these two. This song was released without any exclusivity back in 2021. Just kind of an acknowledgement that teaming up could boost their presence in the holiday canon, given that they both already have songs there. So alright, fine. Now it's finally charting, and I kind of get why this took a while to get over here. The horns might be bright, Kelly and Ariana have some good vocal chemistry, both trying to outbelt the other. The sleigh bells, they're pretty chipper against some of the swells of organ, but again, I think this might be an issue of tone. For a song that's all about what Santa has not delivered them, likely a lover, there's no subtlety or credible angst in a composition that's sold this broadly and produced this plastic. So, okay, yeah, a little bit better, but I get why it took a while for anyone to really care about this. Just saying. Number 83, Wildflower by RM with Youjeen.
Flower, flower, work, flower, flower,
You know, I found myself liking more of what BTS have done solo than as a group, and now we've got RM, who recently released an album with enough named credits in R&B that makes me want to give it a proper chance to review it in my non-existent spare time. Now, this is the one song that broke through with the singer Youjeen, who is a K-pop star in her own right as the lead singer of Cherry Filter, and with this song, I was pretty impressed, yet again. As one of the rappers in BTS, RM has a low, raspy intensity to his delivery that led me to translate a lot of the lyrics reflecting a lot of frustration and alienation, especially from his fame and how his circumstances have felt confining and inauthentic. I mean, I've heard BTS's songs the past couple of years, and I mean, he's seeking a balance for his darker impulses. And Youjeen stepping up for the chorus delivers really well. She commands that hook. And even if I think some of the power might be lost in translation, her delivery sounds impressive as all hell. If I have an issue, might be the production. The blocky, blown-out drums against the airy, operatic swell that then kind of collapses into a guitar-backed trap beat. It feels lacking some of the texture and firepower to really put this over the top properly. But otherwise, you know what? I do appreciate this trying to go for broke. It's really damn good. I dig it. Check it out. Number 68, La Jumpa by Arcangel and Bad Bunny.
Mi nombre es Arcangel, un gusto, un placer. Hoy tú te vas con una leyenda que no va a volver a nacer.
So the last time I talked about Arcangel was back in 2020 with a song he did with Sect that I thought was total crap. So now he's back and teaming up with Bad Bunny because it's 2022, and of course he is. And yeah, this isn't remotely good either. I'm actually a little bit shocked how much I radically do not like this. So let's start off with Arcangel's sniveling delivery that doesn't work well to sell his flex against the sandy percussion and the oily pulse of the synth that even tries for a drill switch up that maybe could have had some promise. I mean, I'd argue Bad Bunny does a little bit more with this, or at least rides the beat more effectively. But then we get to the translated content, where both these guys are behaving like total assholes. In between Arcangel just wallowing in all his ignorant flexes, all targeted against you, the listener, where he calls his flow a mixed salad, and now he says he takes them apart like Legoland. I mean, there's a brand of obnoxiousness that he cannot remotely sell that's all that charismatic. To Bad Bunny making a bunch of basketball references and saying that he normally doesn't brag like this, which is mostly true, before then taking a weird pot shot at Derek Jeter, saying that he makes too much money to care about people, and then a lot of very rather explicit sex references that I just don't really need to hear from Bad Bunny. Couple that with the half-ass interpolation of Titi Me Pregunto on the hook, where this doesn't have anything close to the punch that song has. Yeah, this blows. Next. Number 57, Days That End in Y by Morgan Wallen.
It's been nights to start with whiskey and days that end in Y.
Okay, seriously, did anyone ask for a sampler of loose singles released by Morgan Wallen from out of nowhere? I mean, all three of them charted this week, kind of a mini EP that seems like it's holding folks over, distracting from, well, everything he's done this year. So starting with this, I mean, I'll give him some credit for a pretty good lyrical flip for that hook with the whole Days That End in Y, as he tries to figure out why his relationship imploded and he's drinking himself into a stupor to try and maybe get over it. And with the gentle, fizzy percussion that's around the peeling pedal steel and some of the brighter acoustics, there is actually a pretty good melody and idea here that I really want to like. But Morgan Wallen does not sound good here at all. I don't know if it's the slightly rougher vocal pickup or the mixing or how fried out his voice sounds, but this is something he could normally nail in his sleep, and it's nowhere near as good as it should be. And given that he actually didn't write this song, yeah, sorry. Not as impressed as I want to be. Number 53, Around Me by Metro Boomin featuring Don Toliver.
Be my girl and I gotta keep them drugs around me. Gotta keep a couple plugs around.
So I'll say this, if there's one person who got out of the Metro Boomin project unquestionably looking good, it is Don Toliver. Swimming amidst warbling but husky auto-tune, he's playing in a similar lane as Travis Scott, but with a better command of melody here that he works against the eerie warbles of synth, some really well-balanced trap percussion, and the speaker-shaking bass that nevertheless does not clip in the mix. And it works for the atmosphere of darker paranoia and depression that permeates this song. The atmosphere is fantastic. fantastic, and Don Toliver underplaying his desperation creates a really potent mood that works all throughout the beat switches on the song. Honestly, I think this might be my favorite track on the album, just a really great tune. It's a deep cut, but yeah, check it out. Number 49, Tennessee Fan by Morgan Wallen.
Found a Smoky Mountain man. Yeah, she was raised real tight till the day she died. But ever since that night, she's been a Tennessee fan.
Okay, this is going to be kind of convoluted for me to explain this. A couple of months ago, I reviewed in Billboard Breakdown the Megan Moroney song Tennessee Orange. And I remember in passing making a connection to Morgan Wallen. I mean, it's been kind of ambiguous, whatever the hell it is. I've gone on some gossip websites. I can't figure it out and I don't want to speculate. But anyway, we got another song about Tennessee and college football and the girl switching teams to be a Tennessee fan. But wait, hang on. In Tennessee Orange, she was a fan of Georgia. Now in this song, the girl was reportedly a fan of Alabama, and why do I think nobody's paying this much attention to the fine details as I am? Now, I'll repeat back what I said then when I reviewed Tennessee Orange. I don't have the college football gene, but I do get how big it was down south when Tennessee beat Alabama in a big high-scoring game this year. But it's not like either of these teams are making the playoff properly. It just feels so oversold to root so much of the song in that concept. Kind of a shame because otherwise this is pretty decent. It's more gentle and warm in some of the acoustics, even if the chord progression feels very much lifted straight from Home in My Mind by Scotty McCreery. That was a song from his back in 2018 that I really love. And Morgan Wallen's voice does sound a little better here, but there's still this weird possessive angle to the lyrics that I'm not wild about. So yes, again, I get the appeal. I'm just not as into it. I'll say that. Number 43, Metro Spider by Metro Boomin and Young Thug.
So I could rock the candles. Maybach getting me some top me while I flip the channel. Bigger than the president, now my whole life a scandal. Yeah.
I was on the fence whether or not this was bad, at least initially. Young Thug casually falling off the stock trap beat where the vocal samples blended opposite the bells. They're clearly trying to rip off Kodak Black's Super Gremlin, a song that I absolutely cannot stand. But then I made the mistake and actually started paying attention to what Young Thug was actually saying. I don't trust women, so I thank God I had some daughters. I'm not sure that life lesson brag is structured as well as he thinks it is, especially as he then later talks about pimping out women a couple lines later, a load of brand name bragging, drug abuse, and fucking your wife in a one-night stand, a lot of opulence where he just sounds completely bored of the whole thing, and then a mention of dropping an album this year, when that very clearly did not happen for very different reasons. And then he talked about turning this woman into a sex slave, where he's now rebranded himself as Sex, because that was something he brought up on Trance with Travis Scott on this album, and I'm sorry, that was Prince's thing. You don't have a right to it. In other words, I have no time for this song either. Next. Number 37, One Thing at a Time by Morgan Wallen. Okay, who the hell let Thomas Rhett into the studio with Morgan Wallen, where he's got this plucky, washed-out disco groove that sounds borrowed from that subgenre and pop sound, and played with some really flagrant auto-tune and very dubious vocal mixing? I mean, it's an awkward fit for Morgan Wallen, who's not tight enough of a singer to pull this off. You need a specific type of vocalist to make it work. And that's before we get to the content where he's only quitting, drinking, and drugs, or his ex that appears to be at this bar. Not both. But why do I get the impression he's not gonna quit either? It just feels like there's an attempt at swagger from him that I don't remotely buy. It comes across as more douchey than anything else, and that's a side of country that brings out the worst in Morgan Wallen. So yeah, can't care for this either. Let's move on. Number 8, Superhero, Heroes and Villains by Metro Boomin, Future, and Chris Brown.
Take to the grave. Ain't having problems, I'm sipping the bar. Shout out to Dallas, my bitch is a star. Nigga get rich, better take you to war. Piss on your casket, shoot at your bra.
Okay, so I did hear the full album. I might as well talk about the central conceit and theme. The juxtaposition of heroes and villains, how it's more just two sides of the same coin. How can we really tell the difference? And they quite literally quote Aaron Eckhart as Harvey Dent from The Dark Knight on this song. The problem with this conceit is the sort of villainous equivocation that gets created. And this song is probably the most glaring example of where it goes off the rails. Now, the majority of the track, it's Future rambling over a shuffling trap skitter and some subtle bassy rumble off the distorted horns and the twinkles. I mean, it's brand name flexing, drug abuse. We've heard all this before in some form from Future, but I will say this, some of his punchlines are actually kind of decent. But then the song shifts to a detuned piano and snippets of Jay-Z sample from So Appalled with those said Dark Knight quotes, and Chris Brown going off about how he's the only one, and those who don't want to see him win, they're the real villains here. And you know, at this point, I could bring up what he did to Rihanna again, or highlight Karrueche, or all the other women Chris Brown has put through the ringer and that everyone conveniently ignores. But what's kind of gross is how he's just playing into being the villain, and Metro Boomin's framing is letting him off the hook, implying a lot more moral complexity and ambiguity than there actually is. So I'll take the first half of the song with Future, skip the rest. And finally, number 5, Creepin by Metro Boomin, The Weeknd, and 21 Savage.
Let it show. Oh, baby, I don't wanna know.
Alright, let's get this out the way first. The hook is a very obvious interpolation of I Don't Wanna Know by Mario Winans, a one-hit wonder from 2004 that samples the Fugees and Enya, and that he actually produced the song himself. Now, I'm not really all that bothered by the interpolation. We're at the era where the 2000s will be strip mined for some obvious samples. I know I grew up in that era, but this has happened for decades. The results are just gonna be hit and miss, might as well accept it. And I'll say this, The Weeknd is capable of pulling off the verses and the hook here. But I think the larger problem is that Metro Boomin took a terrific stripped down mix and really good production and then swallowed it up with all this auto-tune and bassy reverb. Yes, I know, modern update, and I like the synth and some of the strings additions to the melody, but the added backing vocals and the brittle trap percussion, they just don't have that same crisp minimalism that made the original Enya sample and drums so effective. Even if I do think the drum switch-ups here kind of sound terrific. And it does set up into 21 Savage's frustrated intensity on his verse, where he just goes off on this girl screwing him over. When 21 sounds like he cares, I'm often interested. Hell, I'll put this above many of his verses on that Drake project. Now, I'm not remotely surprised this is the biggest song from the album by far. It's got pop crossover appeal. I put money on this being at least a hit, especially with the hook that worked nearly 20 years ago and still clicks today. And you know what? I'm okay with that. It's a solid song. I'm happy it's around. But I gotta say, this week kind of wound up weird. For the best, Metro Boomin for Around Me with Don Toliver, but RM and Youjeen is gonna snag the honorable mention for Wildflower. A really nice little song there. Worst of the week is going to La Jumpa with Arcangel and Bad Bunny. I swear, Arcangel just brings out the worst in whoever he's with. And dishonorable mention to, Metro Boomin and Young Thug for Metro Spider. Next week, SZA's gonna wipe the majority of this off the map. Stay tuned for that. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum Pulse. And I'll see you next time.